without you. That was my mother's voice. Flat, rehearsed, final, on a voicemail she left at 9:47 on a Tuesday night. No argument beforehand, no warning, just a 31-second recording that erased 27 years of being the daughter who paid every bill, covered every emergency, and never once said no. I listened to it twice. Then I texted back one word. Okay. What my family didn't know was that okay wasn't surrender. It was authorization, my own to myself, to stop being their safety net. Within 72 hours, the family trust was frozen, the house deal was dead, and their lawyer was leaving messages I had no intention of returning. 46 missed calls by morning, and a text from their attorney that said, "We have a serious problem." I laughed out loud, and I replied, "Before I go on, if this story speaks to you, take where you're listening from. My name is Vivian. I'm 27. Now let me take you back to that Tuesday evening in October." The night of voicemail changed everything. I was sitting cross-legged on my bed in a studio apartment in Philadelphia, laptop balanced on a pillow, finishing a risk assessment report for a client whose portfolio had more red flags than a parade. That was my job, spotting danger before it arrived. Ironic, I know. My phone buzzed on the nightstand. One missed call from Mom, then the voicemail notification. I almost didn't play it. My mother rarely called me directly. She called Brooke, my younger sister, the one who still lived 20 minutes from our parents, the one whose name came up in every family group chat like a headline. When Mom needed something from me, she usually texted 3 words max: "Call me back," or "Send money, please." But a voicemail felt different, personal, almost. So I pressed play. Her voice came through the speaker flat and clear, like she'd practiced the words in front of a mirror. "Vivian, this is your mother. I want you to know that we've made a decision as a family. You are no longer welcome here. Don't come back. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. We're moving on without you." 31 seconds. I timed it on the playback bar. I played it again, thinking I'd missed a reason, a because or a since or even an after what you did. But there was nothing. Just the verdict. No trial. I checked our family group chat, the one Brooke had created 2 Christmases ago, the one where Mom posted casserole recipes and Dad sent blurry photos of birds from the backyard. I'd been removed. Not muted. Removed. And the chat had been renamed. The old name was the Owens fam. The new name, I'll remember this until I die, was us. So that's what I was now. The opposite of us. I set the phone face down on the nightstand and stared at the framed photo on my shelf. Our family at Brooke's college graduation. Mom beaming. Dad's hand on Brooke's shoulder. Me on the far right, half cropped by whoever took the picture. I should have seen it then. For 10 minutes, I did nothing. Just sat there with my hands in my lap, listening to the upstairs neighbor's TV bleed through the ceiling. Laugh track. Someone up there was watching a sitcom while my whole family voted me off the island. The first instinct was the old one. Call back. Apologize. Even though I didn't know what for. Ask what I'd done wrong. Promise to fix it. That was the pattern I'd been running since I was 14. Absorb the blame, patch the crack, keep the peace. My thumb hovered over Mom's name in my contacts. But something caught. Like a gear that finally stripped. Maybe it was the way her voice sounded. Not angry. Not hurt. Rehearsed. Or maybe it was the timing. I'd spent that entire afternoon recalculating the mortgage payment on the family house. The house I paid for. The house where Brooke slept in the master bedroom, and I got the pull-out couch when I visited. I lowered my thumb. Opened the text thread with Mom instead. Typed one word. Okay. 5 letters. I added a period. Then I hit send. The screen showed delivered. Then nothing. No typing bubbles. No callback. Just silence. Which told me everything. She expected me to chase. Beg. Explain. When I didn't, she had no script for that. I couldn't sleep. Not because of sadness. That would come later, around 3 a.m., brief and sharp like a muscle cramp. No, I couldn't sleep because my brain did what it always does under pressure. It went to work. I opened my laptop and created a new spreadsheet. Title: Family Financial Obligations, V. Owens. Column A, Item. Column B, Monthly Amount. Column C, Duration. Column D, Total. I started typing, and what came out of those columns, line by line, was the price of being the dependable daughter. It was so much higher than I thought. Mortgage on the family house, $1,850 a month. I'd been paying it for 3 years. That alone was $66,600. Health insurance for mom and dad, $640 a month. 2.5 years, $19,200. Brooke's car loan, the white SUV she posted on Instagram with the caption, "Blessed." $380 a month, 14 months, $5,320. Then the emergencies, dad's back surgery copay, the roof leak that needed fixing before winter, Brooke's security deposit when she moved out, then moved back, then moved out again. The dental bill mom forgot to mention until it went to collections. By 2 a.m., I had it all on one screen. I leaned back and looked at the total cell, bolded in the bottom right corner. $143,214. I'd contributed more than my annual salary, over 6 years, to people who had just cut me off with a voicemail. But the number wasn't even the worst part. The worst part was what I found when I pulled up the supporting documents I kept in a cloud folder. The same compulsive record-keeping habit that made me good at my job. I was the co-signer on the mortgage. My name was on the deed as co-owner. I was the sole trustee of my grandmother's trust fund, $86,000 she'd left for the family's education and medical needs, managed by me because Grandma said I was the only one she trusted with money. Every critical financial thread holding my family's life together ran through my name. They told me to leave, but they forgot I was the foundation. I hit print. The little desktop printer hummed to life in the dark apartment, spitting out page after page of receipts, statements, and contracts. I wasn't angry yet. That would come. For now, I was just awake. For the first time in years, fully awake. Morning came gray and cold. October in Philadelphia. The kind of sky that looks like a ceiling. I made coffee on autopilot, opened my laptop, and logged into the joint checking account. This was the household account I'd set up 2 years ago to streamline bill payments, mortgage, utilities, insurance, all pulling from one place. My money went in. Everyone else's expenses went out. The dashboard loaded and I noticed it immediately. The contact email on the account had been changed. My email, vivian.owens.fin at the provider, had been swapped out. In its place, an email I recognized. Brooks. The change was time-stamped 2 days before the voicemail. 2 days before. I sat with that for a moment. Let it settle. My sister had changed the contact information on my financial account before my mother recorded that message. The voicemail wasn't an emotional outburst, it was a scheduled step. I kept digging. In my inbox, buried under work emails, I found a forwarded notification from the title company handling the house. Subject line: Beneficiary amendment, confirmation pending. The form requested my removal from the property deed, effective upon approval. Submitted by Brooke Owens, listed as authorized family representative. I had never authorized anyone to represent me. I had never agreed to be removed from anything. My coffee went cold on the desk. I didn't touch it. Here's what I understood now. Sitting in that gray morning light with my laptop glowing and my phone still face down from the night before, Brooke didn't want me out of the family. That was just the cover story. She wanted me off the paperwork, off the deed, off the trust, off every document that proved I'd built what they lived in. The voicemail was the distraction. The real theft was happening in the filing system. And there's one thing you need to know about me. I work in risk analysis. I spot fraud patterns for a living. My sister just made the worst bet of her life. To understand what happened next, you need to understand where it started. Not the voicemail. That was the ending. The beginning was quieter. The beginning was a kitchen. I was 14. Brooke was 10. Summer break had just started, and our parents sat us down at the dining table to explain the plan. Brooke would go to art camp. 4 weeks, $300. I would stay home and watch her during the mornings before camp started and after she got back. Cook lunch, do laundry, make sure the house didn't burn down while mom and dad worked. I asked if I could go to math camp. There was a program at the community college, free for students with qualifying grades. I qualified. Mom shook her head. Someone has to be here for your sister. But it's free, I said. Vivian, you're the older one. You understand. I understood. I understood that Brooke got summers and I got responsibilities. That my grades weren't a source of pride, they were a forecast of future income. When I made honor roll, keep it up. One of you needs to make real money someday. Not, I'm proud of you. Not, you deserve this. Just, you'll be useful later. And when Brooke bombed her 6th grade finals that same year, the whole house rallied. Dad took her for ice cream. Mom sat with her for an hour, stroking her hair, saying, "You're more than a test score, baby." I was in the next room. I heard every word. Nobody said anything like that to me. Not because I was failing, but because I never needed comfort. I was the strong one, the steady one, the one who could handle it. Mom told me that once, directly. Phone call, sophomore year of college. I'd mentioned feeling overwhelmed. She said, "You're the strong one, Vivian. Brooke needs me more." 7 words. I carried them like a brick in my chest for a decade. My first real paycheck arrived on a Friday in June, the summer after I graduated. 21 years old, student loans already accruing interest, starting salary at a mid-sized consulting firm that expected 60-hour weeks. I felt proud for about 4 hours. Mom called that evening. Dad had thrown out his back at work. Not workers' comp eligible because he was technically a subcontractor. Hospital bill, $2,000. Could I help? I sent it that night. Didn't hesitate. 3 weeks later, Brooke needed a security deposit for her first apartment, $1,200. She was 17, about to turn 18, heading to cosmetology school. I asked Mom carefully, "Does Brooke have any savings?" The silence on the other end was a weapon. Then, "She's your baby sister, Vivian. She's starting out. How can you even ask that?" I sent the $1,200. My own student debt, $38,000, sat untouched. No one asked about it. No one offered. It wasn't even a topic. The assumption was simple. Vivian's fine. Vivian handles things. Vivian doesn't need help because Vivian never asks for it. That first year out of school, I sent home close to $14,000. Not in a lump sum, in cuts. A few hundred here, 1,000 there. Always urgent. Always. Just this once. Just this once became every month. They never said thank you. I don't mean they forgot once. I mean the words were never spoken. Not in text. Not on the phone. Not at Thanksgiving when I flew home on a budget airline and ate dinner at the table I'd financially rebuilt. My birthday that year? Mom forgot. She posted a throwback photo of Brooke on Facebook that same week. Brooke's birthday 2 months later? Party at the house. I was asked to order the cake and pay for it. The last month of that year, I ate ramen for 9 days straight because my checking account was empty. I didn't tell anyone. Because if I had, Mom would have said I was being dramatic. And I believed her. That's the part that hurts the most. 3 years before the voicemail, Mom called with what she described as a family opportunity. She and Dad wanted to buy a house, a 3-bedroom outside the city, quieter neighborhood, better schools nearby for whenever grandkids come. She said it like a dream they'd earned. The reality was simpler. Their credit was destroyed. Dad's medical debt, a missed car payment from years ago, a collections notice Mom had ignored until it went to a judgment. No lender would touch them. So Mom asked me, "Just co-sign, Vivian. Your credit is perfect. The house will be in my name, but you'll be on the loan and the deed. It's the family home. Someday it belongs to both of you girls. I said yes. I didn't hire a lawyer. I didn't ask for a written agreement beyond the mortgage paperwork itself. Because the voice in my head, the one Mom had installed, said, "Family doesn't need contracts. If you ask for one, you don't trust us. And if you don't trust us, you're not family." So I signed. Co-signer on the mortgage, co-owner on the deed, though Mom was listed as the primary owner. And from that month forward, the $1,850 payment came out of my account like clockwork. Brooke moved in immediately, took the largest bedroom, decorated it, posted photos, home sweet home. When I visited, which wasn't often because I was working overtime to cover the payments, I slept on the pull-out sofa in the den. I paid for a house where I slept on a couch. About 6 months before the voicemail, I overheard something during a family call. Mom's voice in the background talking to Brooke. She didn't know I was still on the line. She said, "Once we refinance, we can pull some equity out. Don't worry about Vivian. I'll handle her." Handle me. Like a line item. Like a problem. I didn't say anything. I told myself I'd misheard, but my hands were shaking when I put the phone down, and the spreadsheet I'd been working on blurred in front of me. My grandmother, Mom's mother, died 4 years ago. Lung cancer, fast and cruel. She went from diagnosis to funeral in 11 weeks. But Grandma was sharp until the very end. 2 months before she passed, she updated her trust. $86,000, set aside for the family's education and medical expenses. And she named one trustee to manage it. Me. Not Mom. Not Brooke. Me. I remember the lawyer reading it out and Mom's face going still. She didn't argue. Not then. Not in front of the attorney. But later, in the car, she said, "Your grandmother didn't understand how things work. That money should be managed by the family, together." "I am the family, Mom." She didn't answer. The trust sat quietly for 3 years. Then Brooke came calling. She wanted $15,000 for a business venture. An online resale shop she'd seen someone run on social media. No business plan. No projections. Just vibes and a link to a wholesaler. I said no. Not to hurt her. Because the trust terms were specific. Education. Medical. Not startup capital for an idea with no structure. Brooke cried. Of course she did. She called Mom. Mom called me. "Your grandmother would have wanted to help Brooke. You're being controlling." "I'm following the trust document, Mom. That's literally my legal job." Brooke didn't speak to me for 2 months after that. And during those 2 months, I found out from a cousin that Brooke had been telling the extended family I was hoarding Grandma's money and probably spending it on herself. I never corrected the record. I was too tired of fighting ghosts. But here's the part that mattered. The part I didn't realize would become a weapon. 2 months before the voicemail, Brooke called me, said she wanted to clear the air. Her voice was warm, almost sweet, sisterly in a way she hadn't been in years. We talked for 40 minutes, and at one point her guard dropped. Or maybe she just got careless. And she said it. "Honestly, Viv, I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler. For everyone." She said it like it was reasonable, like asking me to step aside from my own life was a favor I should want to do. What she didn't know, what she couldn't have known, was that I'd been recording the call. Not to trap her. I record important calls as a professional habit. My app flags any call over 10 minutes with a family contact and auto records with a disclosure tone at the start. Brooke either didn't hear it or didn't care. I saved that file in 3 places: cloud, USB, an email to myself with the subject line, "just in case." Lying in bed that night, I kept circling back to one question. Why did Brooke need me gone so badly? We grew up in the same house. I made her lunch when Mom worked late. I co-signed her first car. And somehow, I became the enemy in a story she wrote without telling me. I still don't fully understand it. Maybe you do. If you've ever been the reliable one who got repaid with betrayal, why do you think they do it? Drop your take in the 2 days after the voicemail. I walked into the office looking like I'd slept inside a paper shredder. Marcus Webb noticed before I reached my desk. He was senior to me by 7 years, a CPA with a calm voice, and the kind of steady presence that made clients feel safe handing over their ugliest numbers. We'd worked on a dozen audits together. He was not the type to pry. But that morning, he pried. I'd gone to the break room for coffee, and when I came back, Marcus was standing near my desk. Not sitting, standing, like something had stopped him mid-step. My laptop screen was still open. The spreadsheet was still up. Family financial obligations, V. Owens. The total was bolded at the bottom. He looked at me, then at the screen, then back at me. Viv. His voice was low. I don't want to overstep. But that spreadsheet? Is that money you're owed or money you gave away? I could have lied. Could have said it was a client file, a mock-up, a template. But I was running on 4 hours of sleep and the fumes of a decade's worth of being fine, and something in the way Marcus asked, direct, no judgment, no filler, cracked the seal. I told him, not everything, just the outline, voicemail, removed from the group chat, the house, the trust, the number. Marcus didn't react the way most people do. He didn't gasp or shake his head or say, "That's terrible." He went quiet. And when Marcus goes quiet, it means he's calculating. 10 seconds passed. Then he said something that rearranged the furniture in my head. "Vivian, I've been where you are. Different details, same architecture. My father pulled something similar when I was 29, and the thing I wish someone had told me sooner is this. You don't need to call them back. You need to call a lawyer." He wrote a name on a sticky note and slid it across my desk. Janet Aldridge, real estate and trust attorney, a Philadelphia number. I looked at the sticky note, then at Marcus. She's good? She's the one who kept me from losing my house. I put the note in my wallet. It stayed there for exactly 7 hours, the time it took for me to find what I found next. That evening, I sat down with every document I had and went through them the way I'd go through a client's portfolio, line by line, looking for what didn't match. I pulled up the email from the title company again, the one requesting my removal from the deed. I'd noticed it that first morning but hadn't looked closely at the attachment. Now I opened it. The form was standard. A beneficiary amendment request. At the bottom, 2 signature lines. One for Donna Owens, primary owner. One for Vivian Owens, co-owner. Both lines were signed. I zoomed in on my signature, and my stomach went cold. It was close. Someone had studied my handwriting. The slant was right. The size was right. Even the little tail I leave on the N in Vivian was there. But the O in Owens was wrong. I write my capital O with an open loop, a habit from years of signing financial documents quickly. This O was closed, sealed shut. A small thing, the kind of thing only I would notice. But I noticed. Someone had forged my signature to remove me from the deed of a property I'd paid over $66,000 toward. I checked the submission details on the form. Submitted electronically by Brooke Owens, authorized family representative. Submission date: 3 days before the voicemail. 3 days before. I sat back in my chair and let the timeline build itself. First, Brooke submits the forged document to remove me from the deed. Then, she changes the contact email on the joint account. Then, only then, Mom sends the voicemail. This wasn't a family falling apart in the heat of the moment. This was a sequence, a plan. Step 1, Step 2, Step 3. My removal from the paperwork first, then my removal from the family, so I wouldn't be looking at the documents while they pushed me out the door. My sister didn't just betray me, she ran a project plan. And in my line of work, a project plan leaves a trail. I called Janet Aldridge the next morning. Her assistant put me through in under 3 minutes once I mentioned the words forged signature and pending title amendment. Janet's office was in a converted brownstone near Rittenhouse Square, bookshelves floor to ceiling, a glass desk that reflected the overhead lights, and a chair so firm it seemed designed to keep clients focused. She offered me water. I declined. I didn't want to be comfortable. I wanted answers. I placed the folder on her desk. Everything. Mortgage contract. Deed. The forged amendment form with both signatures. The email from the title company. The spreadsheet. $143,000. Itemized. And the bank notification showing Brooke had changed the contact email on the joint account. Janet went through each page the way a surgeon reads a scan. Slowly, no expression, glasses halfway down her nose. She laid the forged signature next to my real one from the original mortgage contract and studied the two side by side. Then she took off her glasses and looked at me. Miss Owens, you have two problems and one advantage. She tapped the forged form. Problem one, someone committed fraud using your identity. The signature discrepancy alone could support a forgery claim. She tapped the title company email. Problem two, a refinance is pending on a property you co-own, without your knowledge or consent. Both are serious. She paused. Your advantage is straightforward. You're the co-signer. You're the co-owner. You're the sole trustee of a family trust. Nothing, not the refinance, not the title change, not a single dollar from that trust, moves without your actual signature. And your actual signature is the one thing they couldn't get. I sat with that for a moment, then asked the question that had been building since Tuesday night. What happens if I just stop? Stop paying the mortgage. Stop signing anything. Stop being the infrastructure. Janet folded her hands. Then the whole thing collapses under its own weight. The bank issues a notice. The refinance dies. The trust stays locked. All of it. Every financial arrangement they depend on stalls until you decide otherwise. She let that land. Then added, almost gently, there's one more thing you should know. A forged signature on a deed amendment isn't just a civil matter. In Pennsylvania, that can be charged as a felony. I'm not saying you need to go there, but you should know you could. My chair suddenly felt a lot less uncomfortable. That night, back in my apartment, I opened the recording app on my phone. I hadn't listened to Brooke's call since the night it happened 2 months ago. At the time, I'd filed it under annoying but harmless. Just Brooke being Brooke, trying to get what she wanted with a soft voice and a sideways ask. Now, with everything I knew, it sounded completely different. I put my earbuds in and hit play. Brooke's voice filled my head, warm and casual, the way she gets when she wants something but hasn't asked for it yet. I'm just saying, Viv, you're so busy all the time. You've got your career, your apartment, your whole life up there. Wouldn't it be easier if you just stepped back a little? Let mom handle the trust stuff. And the house, honestly, if your name wasn't on it, you wouldn't have to worry about the payments anymore. That'd be a relief, right? I remembered thinking, at the time, that she was being clumsy but not malicious. Just Brooke, trying to simplify her world. Then came the line. Minute 32 of the recording. I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler. For everyone. I paused it. Rewound. Played it again. I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Need. Not want. Not. It might be nice if. Need. She'd told me exactly what she was going to do. She'd said it out loud into a phone that was recording. After an app disclosure tone she either ignored or didn't hear. And then, when I didn't volunteer to disappear, she forged my name and had mom deliver the eviction notice disguised as a family decision. I saved the file again. Cloud, USB, email to myself. 3 copies. Because in my family, the truth has a habit of going missing. I didn't know yet when I'd use it, or how, but I knew this. That recording was the one card Brooke didn't know I held, and I was going to wait for exactly the right table to play it on. Friday afternoon, Janet's office. I sat across from her with a legal pad I'd filled on both sides. She had a matching one. Let's walk through this, she said, step by step. What you can do, what's within your rights, and what the consequences will be. For them, and for you. Step 1. Notify the bank that the deed amendment form was submitted with a forged signature. Janet would send a formal letter with supporting evidence. My real signature from the original mortgage versus the fake on the amendment. The bank would be legally required to freeze the refinance transaction pending investigation. Step 2. As sole trustee of Grandma's Trust, I had full authority to freeze all distributions. No court order needed. No approval from any family member. One signature from me, one phone call to the trust management institution, and $86,000 goes into lockdown. Step 3. Stop the automatic mortgage payments. I was the cosigner, not the primary borrower. Donna was the primary. If I stopped paying, the obligation reverted entirely to her, and her credit score couldn't support the loan on its own. The bank would issue a formal notice within 30 days. If she couldn't catch up or refinance independently, the foreclosure clock would start. Step 4. Janet sends a cease and desist letter on my behalf, notifying the family that I was withdrawing from all shared financial obligations effective immediately. I listened to each step, nodded at each one, then asked the question my gut wouldn't let go. If they lose the house, Janet didn't blink. Vivian, they told you to leave. You're leaving. You're not taking the house from them. You're removing yourself from a loan they can't service without you. If that causes a collapse, the structure was never sound. I picked up the pen and signed the authorization letter. The pen felt heavier than it should have. Not because I doubted the decision, because I knew. Once that ink dried, there was no undoing it. No quiet resolution, no late-night phone call that puts everything back in the drawer. This was the sound of a bridge I didn't burn. I just stopped being the bridge. Monday morning, I drove to the bank that managed Grandma's Trust during my lunch break. The branch was quiet. A few customers at the teller windows, soft music I couldn't name, the hum of fluorescent lights. I sat down with a trust officer named Dan, a pleasant man with a blue tie and a pen. He clicked nervously when he talked. I presented my trustee documentation, photo ID, the original trust instrument, a letter from Janet confirming my legal standing. Dan reviewed it all, clicking his pen exactly 14 times. Then he looked up. Miss Owens, you are the sole trustee on this account. No other signatories, no co-trustees, no secondary beneficiaries with withdrawal authority. Click. What would you like to do? I'd like to place a full freeze on all distributions from this trust, effective immediately. No withdrawals, no transfers, no disbursements until I authorize them in writing. He blinked. Any particular reason? I have concerns about potential unauthorized access. I'd like to conduct a review of all activity before allowing any further movement. That was language he understood. He typed for 2 minutes, printed a form, slid it across the desk. I signed it. $86,000. Locked. Dan said, "You'll receive a confirmation email within the hour. No one else will be able to access these funds without your written authorization and a notarized release." Thank you, Dan. I walked out into the October sun. The air was sharp. Leaves were turning. I stood on the sidewalk for a moment and felt something I didn't expect. Not triumph, not satisfaction. Lightness. Like setting down a suitcase I hadn't realized I'd been carrying through every doorway for 4 years. This was step 1. The trust was secure. Grandma's money was safe. But the real earthquake was still coming, because when Brooke tried to access that account, and she would try, I was sure of it, she'd hit a wall she couldn't charm, cry, or forge her way through. And that wall would have my name on it. Tuesday, Janet's paralegal sent 3 emails before noon. The first went to the mortgage lender. A formal notice of signature fraud on the deed amendment form, accompanied by a side-by-side comparison of my real signature and the forged one, plus my sworn affidavit confirming I had never authorized the change. Janet's letter requested an immediate hold on all pending transactions related to the property until the bank completed its internal review. The second email went to the same lender, notifying them that I, as co-signer, was terminating my automatic payment authorization effective the next billing cycle. The letter cited my legal right to cease voluntary payments on a loan where the primary borrower, Donna Owens, had initiated unauthorized modifications without my consent. The third email went directly to the Owens family, care of whatever email address Donna had on file, as a formal cease and desist. It stated, in clean legal language, that Vivian Owens was withdrawing from all shared financial obligations, that no further payments would be made on the mortgage, insurance, or any other joint expense, and that all future communications should be directed to Janet Aldridge, attorney at law. 3 emails, 12 attachments between them, 3 clicks of the send button. By 4 p.m. that afternoon, the mortgage lender had responded. The refinance transaction was frozen, pending a fraud investigation. The deed amendment was flagged. No changes to the property title would be processed until further notice. I sat in my car in the parking garage after work. Engine off, hands on the wheel. They were shaking, not from fear, from the strange vertigo of doing something irreversible. In 48 to 72 hours, those letters would land. Mom would find out the mortgage payment didn't come. The refinance was dead. The trust was locked. The insurance cancellation notice would arrive within 30 days. Every single safety net I'd built under them, every invisible thread of money and signatures and reliability, was gone. Not cut, just released. The way you let go of a rope when the person on the other end tells you they don't need you anymore. I turned the key, pulled out of the garage, drove home through Philadelphia traffic with the windows down, cold air filling the car, and waited for my phone to start ringing. It wouldn't take long. It took exactly 51 hours. I was at my desk Thursday morning reviewing a client's exposure report when my phone started buzzing. Not the polite single vibration of a text, the long, insistent pulse of a call. Then another. Then another. I didn't look right away. Finished my paragraph. Saved the file. Then flipped the phone over. 19 missed calls from Mom, 8 from Dad, 14 from Brooke, 5 from a number I didn't recognize, 46 total. The texts were stacked like bricks. Mom. Vivian, call me right now. Mom. This is not a game. Mom. Something happened with the bank and you need to fix this. Brooke. Viv, what did you do? Brooke. The refinance is frozen. They said your lawyer sent something. Brooke. Call me, now. Dad. Honey, please call back. Your mother is very upset. Dad. We need to talk about the house situation. And then, the one that made me set my coffee down and read it twice. An email from the unknown number. Professional letterhead. Gregory Pratt, attorney at law, representing Donna Owens. Dear Ms. Owens, I represent your mother, Donna Owens, regarding the residential property at address. It has come to our attention that several financial actions have been taken that directly impact our clients' interests. We would like to arrange an immediate conversation to discuss resolution. Please respond at your earliest convenience. And at the bottom, almost an afterthought, we have a serious problem. I read it one more time, then I leaned back in my chair, and I laughed. Not a bitter laugh, not a villain laugh. Just the startled, involuntary sound of a woman who'd spent 6 years answering every phone call on the first ring, and who had just watched 46 calls go to voicemail. 46. That number keeps playing in my head because I remember thinking, that's roughly one for every $3,000 I gave them. Funny how fast we're moving on without you becomes, call us back immediately. I picked up my phone, opened the email from Gregory Pratt, and forwarded it to Janet. Then typed one line in the body of the forward. Let's schedule the meeting. Brooke didn't wait for the meeting. She never was patient. The texts started rolling in Thursday afternoon, one after another, spaced just far enough apart to suggest she was pacing while typing. Viv, I don't know what you told the bank, but you need to undo this. Mom is spiraling. Then, 12 minutes later, this isn't about you and me, okay? This is about the family. You're putting Mom and Dad in a really dangerous spot right now. 20 minutes after that. I never wanted any of this to go this far. You know that. We were just upset. People say things when they're upset. And the closer, the one she must have thought was her ace. You're being really, really selfish right now, Vivian. Like, Unbelievably selfish. I sat at my kitchen counter and read each message carefully. Not because I needed to understand them. I understood them perfectly. I read them because I wanted to catalog the pattern one more time before I stopped engaging with it forever. Message 1. Deflect. Make it about what I did, not what she did. Message 2. Invoke the family shield. Weaponize mom and dad to trigger my guilt. Message 3. Minimize. Rewrite the voicemail as a heat of the moment mistake. Erase the forged signature, the changed email, the 3-step plan. Message 4. The label. Selfish. The word she knew I'd been running from since I was 14 years old. 4 messages, 0 apologies, no mention of the voicemail, no mention of the forged signature, no mention of the deed amendment she submitted under my name without my consent. Same Brooke, same playbook. Just louder now that the stakes were real. I typed back one message. Have your lawyer contact mine. And I attached Janet's business card as a contact file. 30 seconds of silence. Then 3 gray dots appeared. Disappeared. Appeared again. Are you serious right now? I closed the app. Set the phone on the counter, screen down. Then, one last message from Brooke. I saw it in my notification banner before I silenced the thread. Fine. But don't blame me for what happens next. I almost smiled. Because that sentence, don't blame me for what happens next, was the most honest thing Brooke had said in years. She was already planning her next move, and she wanted cover in advance. The difference now was that I was planning too, and my plans came with documentation. Friday evening. I was making dinner. Pasta, nothing fancy, something to do with my hands. When my phone rang. Dad's number. I picked up because the last time Dad called twice in 1 week was when he went to the ER. Muscle memory. The responsible daughter answering the responsible phone call. But it wasn't Dad. Vivian Marie Owens. Mom's voice. Full name. The tone she uses when she wants you to feel 11 years old again. I don't know what has gotten into you, but you are destroying this family. Your father hasn't slept in 3 days. The bank sent a letter about the mortgage. The insurance company says our coverage is ending. And now Brooke tells me you're hiding behind a lawyer like we're strangers? I turned the burner down to low. Mom, you sent me a voicemail telling me not to come back. I'm doing what you asked. That was because I was upset. You know how I get. But this, freezing accounts, stopping payments, this is you being vindictive on purpose. I stopped paying for things that aren't mine anymore. You told me I'm not family. If I'm not family, I'm not financially responsible for the family. Silence. 2 beats. 3. Then, after everything I sacrificed for you, after all the years I poured into raising you, this is how you repay me. There it was. The script. The same guilt trip that had kept me writing checks for 6 years. I sacrifice. You owe. The eternal family ledger where my side was always in the red. Mom, I'm not repaying anything. I'm done paying. There's a difference. Her breath went sharp. You will regret this, Vivian. I'm telling you. You will look back on this moment and be ashamed. Maybe. But if I'm ashamed, it'll be for my own reasons. Not because you told me to be. I hung up. Set the phone down next to the stove. My hands were trembling. The pasta water was boiling over, hissing on the burner. I wasn't crying. Or, if I was, it wasn't from guilt. It was from the kind of grief that comes when you realize the person you keep hoping your mother will become doesn't exist. Never did. And no amount of mortgage payments was ever going to build her. I turned the burner off. I wasn't hungry anymore. But I noticed something, standing in that quiet kitchen with the steam curling around me. Donna hadn't mentioned the forged signature. Not once. Either she didn't know what Brooke had done, or she knew and decided it didn't matter. I wasn't sure which was worse. Saturday morning. My phone became a bulletin board of people I hadn't spoken to in months. Aunt Helen, Mom's younger sister, texted first. Honey, your mother is beside herself. Whatever this disagreement is, can't you just talk it out? She says you're trying to take the house. Then Uncle Robert, Dad sighed. Heard some things through the grapevine. You know family comes first, right? Don't let money ruin what matters. Then a cousin I'd met exactly twice. Hey Vivian. Not sure what's going on, but Brooke seems really hurt. Just wanted to say you should probably call your mom. One after another. All morning. All with the same invisible fingerprints. I opened Facebook. I hadn't posted anything in weeks, but I had a feeling. And there it was. Brooke's latest status update, posted at 11 p.m. the night before. When your own blood turns their back on you over money, family should never be about transactions. Some people only care about control. Praying for healing. 47 likes. 20 hearts and prayer hands and stay strong, babe, from people who had no idea what had actually happened. One truth always comes out. Yes, I thought. It does. My chest tightened. The old reflex fired. The need to explain, to correct, to post my own side, to line up the receipts and show everyone the spreadsheet and the forged signature and the voicemail. I typed 3 different responses, deleted all 3. Then I remembered what Marcus had told me over coffee 2 days earlier, when I'd admitted I was terrified of being the villain in Brooke's narrative. Don't fight the narrative on their turf, he'd said, stirring his coffee without looking up. Bring the truth to the right room. The right room. Not Facebook. Not a group chat. Not a phone call where mom can hang up when the facts get uncomfortable. A room with a table, with lawyers, with documents, where crying doesn't override evidence and I'm the victim, has to compete with timestamps. I closed Facebook, opened my email, wrote to Janet. I think it's time for the meeting, all of them, face to face, with everything we have. Janet replied in 11 minutes. Agreed. I'll coordinate with Pratt. Friday, my office. 5 days. 5 days until every story Brooke had ever told would have to survive a conference table. I set my phone on the kitchen counter and poured myself a second coffee. My hands were steady. Monday afternoon. Janet called me from her office on speakerphone so I could listen. She'd reached Gregory Pratt. The conversation was polite the way a chess game is polite. Controlled moves, measured language. Nothing wasted. Mr. Pratt, I represent Vivian Owens. As you know, my client is co-signer on the mortgage and co-owner on the deed for the property your client occupies. She's also the sole trustee of the Margaret Owens Family Trust. I'm aware of the financial arrangements, Gregory said. His voice was careful, lawyerly. Then you should also be aware that a deed amendment form was submitted to the title company bearing my client's signature, a signature my client did not provide. A side-by-side analysis shows clear discrepancies. The bank's fraud department has flagged the document and frozen the pending refinance. Silence. I counted. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 seconds of dead air from a man who bills $400 an hour. Are you saying, Gregory said slowly, that my client submitted a forged document? I'm saying a document bearing a signature my client did not execute was submitted under her name. The title company and lender have both been notified. The bank's investigation is proceeding independently of our office. More silence. Then Gregory's voice, noticeably tighter. I'll need to confer with my clients about this. I'd recommend doing that soon, Mr. Pratt, before the bank's fraud division does it for you. The call ended with a date confirmation for Friday. Janet hung up and turned to me. His pause told me everything. He didn't know about the forged signature. She folded her hands on the desk. That means either your mother didn't tell her own lawyer or your mother didn't know. If Donna didn't know, then Brooke did this on her own. And didn't tell anyone. She told one person, I said. Me. On a recorded call. Janet's eyes narrowed. Not in suspicion, in something closer to satisfaction. Friday's going to be very interesting. Wednesday evening, I was cleaning up after dinner, dish in the sink, water running, when my phone rang. Dad. Actually, Dad this time. Vivian. His voice was the quietest I'd ever heard it. Not angry. Not the rehearsed authority he sometimes borrowed from Mom. Just tired. The kind of tired that lives in the bones. Hi, Dad. The lawyer, our lawyer, called today. He said there's a problem with the house paperwork. Something about a signature that doesn't match. He paused. I let the pause stretch. The water was still running in the sink. He says someone may have signed your name on a form. That's correct. Do you? Another pause. I could hear him breathing. Do you know who did it? You should ask Brooke. The breathing stopped. Brooke? The form was submitted under her name, Dad. Authorized family representative. She submitted it 3 days before Mom sent me that voicemail. Silence. Long enough that I checked whether the call had dropped. It hadn't. The seconds counter was still ticking. You're sure about this? I have the submission records. My lawyer has the signature comparison. The bank has flagged it for fraud investigation. Yes, Dad. I'm sure. I heard something through the phone. A chair creaking. Like he'd sat down hard. Or maybe it was his knees. Let me talk to your mother about this. And there it was. The sentence he'd said 100 times across my lifetime. Let me talk to your mother. The eternal deferral. The man who never quite got around to having his own opinion before clearing it with Donna first. Dad, I'm not calling for permission. I'm not asking you to fix it. You asked me a question and I answered it. If the family wants to resolve this, it happens Friday. Janet's office. With documentation. Vivian, I love you, Dad, but I'm done talking through walls. I hung up. The water in the sink had gone cold. I dried my hands and stood in the kitchen for a long time. What struck me wasn't anger. It was something sadder. The sound of my father realizing, at 59 years old, that the wrong daughter had been telling the truth all along, and that he'd spent decades choosing not to check. Thursday, Janet's assistant sent the formal invitation to Gregory Pratt's office, a meeting at Janet's conference room, Friday at 2 p.m. Attendees: Vivian Owens, Donna Owens, Raymond Owens, Brooke Owens, Janet Aldridge, Gregory Pratt. Janet and I reviewed the ground rules together. If I was going to sit across from my entire family for the first time since the voicemail, I needed structure, not emotion. Structure. Rule 1. No shouting. If any party raised their voice, the meeting would be adjourned immediately. This was a professional discussion, not a kitchen table argument. Rule 2. Claims require documentation. Anyone could say anything, but if they wanted it taken seriously, they needed paper to back it up. Rule 3. I would present first, uninterrupted. My case, my timeline, my evidence. Questions after. Gregory agreed to all 3 terms within the hour. He didn't push back on a single one, which told me something important. His clients needed me more than I needed them. They needed my signature, my payments, my cooperation. Without those, they were staring down a frozen refinance, a lapsed insurance policy, a locked trust fund, and a mortgage they couldn't carry alone. I prepared my folder the way I prepare a client portfolio. Organized, labeled, devastating. Tab 1. The spreadsheet, $143,000. Tab 2. The forged signature, side by side with the original. Tab 3. The email trail showing Brooke's unauthorized changes to the joint account. Tab 4. The timeline. Deed amendment, email change, voicemail, group chat removal. All dated, all documented, and tucked inside the back cover, in a small envelope, a USB drive with the recording. I hadn't decided whether to play it. That would depend on what happened in the room, on whether Brooke would tell the truth, or whether she'd do what she always did. Marcus texted that evening. Ready for tomorrow? I typed back. Folders packed, hands are steady. He replied, You don't owe them an explanation. They owe you one. Go get it. I set my alarm for 6 a.m., laid out my clothes, drank chamomile tea, which I hate, because someone once told me it helps with nerves. It didn't. But the folder on my nightstand did. Friday, 2 p.m., Janet Aldridge's conference room on the 3rd floor of the brownstone. Glass walls, a long walnut table, 6 leather chairs, and a water pitcher no one would touch. I arrived 10 minutes early, set my folder on the table, aligned the edges. Janet sat to my left, laptop open, notepad ready. Neither of us spoke. The room smelled like printer toner and the faint lemon of whatever the cleaning crew used. At 1:58, the door opened. Mom came in first. Navy blouse, chin high, purse clutched against her ribs like a shield. She looked at me for exactly 1 second, not at my face, but at my folder, then sat in the far chair without a word. Dad followed. Gray polo, hands in his pockets. He glanced at me, and something crossed his face. Not quite guilt, not quite shame, something in between that didn't have a name. He sat next to Mom and folded his hands on the table. Then Brooke. She walked in last, which was deliberate. She wore a soft pink cardigan over a white shirt. Her eyes were red-rimmed, recently rubbed, maybe actually teary, maybe not. Her lower lip was doing the slight quiver she'd been perfecting since elementary school. She pulled her chair close to Mom's and reached for Mom's hand under the table. The performance was flawless. If you didn't know the script, you'd think she was the victim in this room. Gregory Pratt entered behind her. Gray suit. Firm handshake with Janet. A brief nod to me. He sat at the end of the table equidistant from both sides, which was technically neutral and practically useless. Janet opened. Thank you all for being here. This meeting exists to address the financial and legal issues that have arisen in recent weeks. Miss Owens will present first, as agreed by both counsels. She will not be interrupted. I opened the folder, looked up, made eye contact with my mother for the first time since a voicemail tried to erase me from the family. I'll start, I said, with a number. I slid the spreadsheet to the center of the table. 5 copies. One for each person, one for the record. $143,214. I let the number sit in the air. No one moved. That's what I've contributed to this family over the past 6 years. Mortgage payments on this property, $66,600. Health insurance for Mom and Dad, $19,200. Brooke's car loan, $5,320. Emergency expenses, surgeries, roof repairs, security deposits, dental bills. The rest. Every payment is documented. Dates, amounts, account records. It's all on this sheet. Mom's eyes moved down the page. I watched her scan each line, the way you watch someone read a medical report they weren't expecting. This is what I gave, I said. Not as a loan, not under contract. Just because I was asked, and because I believed that's what family meant. Mom opened her mouth. Janet raised one finger, calm, firm. Mrs. Owens, you'll have your turn. I pulled the second document from the folder. 2 sheets, side by side. I placed them flat on the table and turned them so everyone could read. On the left, my signature from the original mortgage contract, dated 3 years ago. On the right, a signature submitted on a deed amendment form requesting my removal from the property title. I paused. I did not sign this form. I did not authorize it. I did not know it existed until I discovered it in my email after being removed from this family by voicemail. Gregory Pratt leaned forward, studying the 2 signatures. His jaw tightened. The form was submitted electronically, I continued, by Brooke Owens, listed as authorized family representative. 3 days before the voicemail. The room shifted. Not a sound. More like a barometric change. Dad's hand moved to his forehead. Gregory sat back in his chair, slowly. Brooke's grip on Mom's hand tightened. And Mom looked at the signatures, then at me. Then, for the first time since she walked into this room, at Brooke. What is this? She said. Someone forged my signature, I said, to steal my share of a house I paid for. I didn't say who. I didn't have to. Every eye in the room had already turned. Brooke let go of Mom's hand. That's insane. I didn't forge anything. Her voice climbed. Vivian is doing what she always does. She's manipulating the situation. She's making herself the victim because she can't handle that we. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't need to. Brooke. One word, flat, quiet. It cut through her sentence like a blade through paper. Before you finish that thought, I want you to hear something. I reached into the back cover of the folder, pulled out the small envelope, and removed the USB drive. Janet's laptop was already connected to a speaker on the table. I plugged it in, found the file, and hovered the cursor over the play button. This is a recording of a phone call between you and me, 2 months before the voicemail. The call was disclosed at the start. My app plays an audible notification tone. If you'd like to dispute its authenticity, Mr. Pratt can have it verified. Brooke's face went white. Not red, white. The kind of white that happens when blood retreats from the surface. I clicked play. The room filled with Brooke's voice. Warm, casual, coaxing. I just need you out of the trust and off the deed. Then everything gets simpler. For everyone. The recording ended. No one moved. I looked at Donna. She was staring at the speaker like it had physically struck her. Her lips were slightly parted. No words. I looked at Dad. His eyes were closed. His hand was still on his forehead. I looked at Gregory Pratt. He had placed his pen on the table and folded his hands, the universal posture of a lawyer recalculating his position. And I looked at Brooke. She was looking at Mom, searching for the lifeline that had always been there. The immediate defense. The, she didn't mean it. The instant redirect of blame onto me. Mom didn't look back. 15 seconds of silence. I counted them the way you count the seconds between lightning and thunder, waiting to learn how close the strike was. It was the loudest my family had ever been. Then Brooke broke. That's out of context. I didn't mean it like that. I was just talking. Just saying things. People say things. Janet's voice was steady as a scalpel. The recording is timestamped 2 months before a forged document bearing Ms. Owens's signature was submitted to remove her from the deed. The context, I'd say, is remarkably clear. Brooke turned to Mom again. Her lip trembled. Real this time. Or maybe not. I couldn't tell anymore. Mom. You believe me, right? She's twisting everything. She always does this. Donna Owens did not look at her younger daughter. She was staring at the spreadsheet, at the column labeled total, at the number at the bottom that represented 6 years of her eldest daughter's life, converted to dollars and cents, paid without a single thank you. She said nothing. And in that silence, in that precise, devastating silence, something shifted in the room that could never be shifted back. I closed the folder. Slowly. The sound of the cover meeting the back page was the only noise in the room. Donna turned to me. Her voice was different now. Smaller. Vivian, I didn't know about the signature. I swear to you, I didn't know. I believe you didn't know about the signature, Mom. She exhaled. But you knew when you recorded that voicemail. You knew when you removed me from the group chat. You knew every time Brooke told you a story about me and you never once called to ask if it was true. You chose a version that was comfortable, and I paid the price for it. In dollars. In years. In every holiday where I sat at the far end of the table and told myself it was fine. Donna's chin dropped. Not a nod. More like something inside her gave way by a fraction. I stood up. Here's what happens now. I kept my voice even. Professional. The way I deliver a risk assessment to a client when the numbers are bad, and there's no soft way to say it. The trust will be transferred to a professional management firm. I'm stepping down as trustee, but the terms Grandma set will be enforced. Education and medical only. No exceptions. I looked at the table. I'm withdrawing as co-signer on the mortgage. You have 60 days to find alternative financing or make a decision about the property. I will not make another payment. I looked at Gregory Pratt. Regarding the forged signature, I won't be filing a criminal complaint. This time. But every document, every recording, every communication has been preserved and is held by my attorney. I looked at Brooke. She was staring at the table, cardigan pulled tight around her. The red-eyed performance finally collapsed into something real, or at least, something closer to it. Brooke, I don't hate you, but I don't trust you, and I don't have to. I picked up my folder, nodded once to Janet, walked to the door. Dad's voice, cracked and low. Vivian. I paused with my hand on the handle, didn't turn around. 60 days, Dad. Use them well. The door clicked shut behind me. My heels echoed down the hallway, steady even, unhurried. I didn't look back. Not because I was angry, because there was nothing behind me I hadn't already said. Walking to my car afterward, I wondered if I should have handled it differently, been softer, given them more time, tried one more phone call before pulling everything. Part of me still wanted to believe a conversation could have fixed this, but every conversation for 6 years had ended the same way. Me apologizing for someone else's lie. Would you have given them another chance? Or would you have walked out of that room the same way I did? Tell me. I genuinely want to know. 72 hours after the meeting, the pieces fell exactly where gravity said they would. The house. Without me as co-signer, the family's refinance was permanently dead. The bank sent a formal notice. Donna Owens had 90 days to either resume full mortgage payments on her own, secure a new co-signer with qualifying credit, or face the beginning of foreclosure proceedings. Donna's credit score couldn't carry the loan solo. Not even close. The trust. Transferred to a licensed fiduciary firm in Philadelphia within 1 week of the meeting. Every dollar accounted for. Every withdrawal now subject to third-party review against Grandma's original terms. Brooke couldn't charm, cry, or forge her way to a cent of it. The insurance. My cancellation notice took effect on the 30-day mark. Mom and Dad's health coverage lapsed on a Wednesday. By Thursday, Donna was on the phone with the marketplace, learning for the first time what insurance costs when someone else isn't paying for it. Nearly double what I'd been covering. The lawyer, Gregory Pratt, formally withdrew from representing the Owens family 10 days after the meeting. His letter to Donna cited irreconcilable factual discrepancies, polished legal language for, "Your daughter committed fraud, and you didn't tell me." They were now without counsel. And the social narrative, the one Brooke had built so carefully on Facebook, began to crack. Aunt Helen called Mom after the meeting and asked pointed questions. A cousin on Dad's side texted me directly. "I heard there were forged documents. Is that true?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to. The facts were doing their own press tour. None of this was revenge. I want to be clear about that. I didn't engineer a collapse. I removed myself from a structure that was only standing because I was holding it up. When I let go, it did what any unsupported structure does. It buckled. Not because I pushed it, because it was never built to stand on its own. 3 weeks after the meeting, a Sunday afternoon. I was reading on my couch, an actual book, paper pages, no screen, when Dad called. His voice was thinner than usual, like someone had stretched it over too many sleepless nights. "Vivian, I've been meaning to call." "Hi, Dad. I want to say, I'm sorry, I know I should have said it sooner. I should have asked questions when your mother sent that voicemail. I should have looked at the paperwork myself instead of just trusting that someone else had it handled. I waited. Because with Dad, the apology always came with the second paragraph. But, sweetheart, is there any way you could give us more time with the house? Your mother is looking into options, but 90 days it's not a lot. If you could just extend the co-signer arrangement for another few months, until we figure out." "Dad." He stopped. I heard the apology. I appreciate it. I do. But I also heard the but. You're not calling because you're sorry. You're calling because the family needs my signature again. Silence. Then quietly, "Both, Vivian. It's both." Maybe it is. But the answer is the same. The 60 days I gave at the meeting are still in effect. Nothing changes. Your mother is terrified of losing the house. Then Mom should talk to a financial advisor, not to me. More silence. Then the thing that hit hardest. Not his words, but the sound of his exhale. Long, deflated. The sigh of a man who knows he's asking the wrong daughter to fix a problem the other daughter caused but lacks the spine to say it out loud. I understand, he said finally. Dad? Yeah. I love you. That hasn't changed. But love doesn't mean I light myself on fire to keep someone else warm. Not anymore. He hung up without saying goodbye. Just a click, and then nothing. The same abrupt silence that had been his answer to every hard question my entire life. I set the book down, stared at the ceiling. He'd apologized and asked for a favor in the same breath. And the worst part was that I think he genuinely meant both. The sorry and the ask. He just didn't understand that one cancels out the other. Or maybe he did. And that was the saddest part of all. 3 months later. The leaves were gone. First frost had come and gone. Philadelphia was doing what Philadelphia does in January. Cold, gray, stubbornly alive. I was sitting in a coffee shop near my office on a Saturday morning, laptop open but idle, watching people through the window. A normal Saturday. Unremarkable. And that was the point. For the first time in my adult life, unremarkable felt like a luxury. The mortgage money, $1,850 a month, was going into my savings account now. I had an emergency fund for the first time ever. I was paying down my student loans ahead of schedule. I'd booked a flight to Portland for a long weekend in February, just because I wanted to see the ocean. I'd never booked a trip just because I wanted to before. Brooke and I hadn't spoken since the meeting. Not a text. Not a voicemail. Not even a like on a photo. Complete silence. I checked her Facebook once, out of habit. She'd posted a new status. Starting over. No context. No mention of me or the house or any of it. Just the curated version of her life, sanitized for an audience that didn't know the backstory. I scrolled past it and felt nothing. And that nothing, that clean, quiet emptiness where guilt used to live, was the closest thing to freedom I'd ever known. Mom called once, about a month after the meeting. Her voice was different. Not warm exactly, but the sharp edges had been sanded down. She asked how I was. I said fine. She said okay. The call lasted 90 seconds. She didn't guilt trip me. She didn't ask for money. She didn't mention Brooke. It wasn't healing. It was a ceasefire. And for now, that was enough. Dad texted on my birthday. 3 words. Happy birthday, Vivian. First time in years. No exclamation point. No emoji. Just my name and an acknowledgement that I existed. It was the smallest possible gesture, but it was his. The house sold 6 weeks after the meeting. Donna listed it when it became clear no one would co-sign a new loan. I signed the paperwork to release my name from the deed. The real paperwork, this time, with my actual signature. I didn't take any proceeds from the sale. The deed listed Donna as primary owner and the equity was hers. I'd already calculated the loss. $66,000 in mortgage payments toward a house I never lived in. I wrote it off. Not on my taxes, but in my head. A tuition payment for the most expensive lesson I ever learned. Marcus met me for coffee that afternoon. He slid into the seat across from me, took one look at my face, and said, "How do you feel?" I thought about it. Really thought. "Lighter," I said. Like I put down something I didn't realize I was carrying. He nodded. Didn't say anything else. He didn't need to. For the first time in 6 years, every dollar I earned was mine. Not mine to give away. Not mine to sacrifice. Not mine to use as proof that I deserved a seat at a table I was already paying for. Just mine. Quietly, unremarkably, beautifully mine. I'm not telling you this story so you'll hate my family. I'm telling you because somewhere out there, right now, someone is sitting with their phone in their hand, staring at a transfer confirmation for money they can't afford to send to someone who has never once said thank you. And they're telling themselves the same thing I told myself for 6 years. It's fine. They're family. This is what family does. Brooke isn't a monster. She's a person who learned, very young, that lying gets rewarded and crying unlocks doors. Nobody ever made her stop. Nobody ever showed her a consequence that stuck. until the consequence wore my name and came with a lawyer. Mom isn't evil. She's a woman who built her identity around control, around being the center of a family that obeyed a script she wrote. When I stopped following the script, she didn't know how to respond with anything other than force. That voicemail wasn't cruelty. It was panic disguised as authority. Dad isn't a villain. He's a man who spent his whole life choosing silence over confrontation, and one day realized that silence has a price too. He's still learning that. I think he might get there. I hope he does. And me? I'm the woman who finally understood that the word family is not a blank check. That loving someone does not mean funding their life while they erase yours. That boundaries are not punishment. Boundaries are truth, delivered without apology. I don't know what my family looks like a year from now. I don't know if there will be a Thanksgiving I attend or a phone call that feels like home. I don't need to know. For the first time, I'm not building my life around their answer. So I'll ask you this, and I genuinely want to know. If the people who are supposed to love you the most told you to leave, would you fight to stay? Or would you finally let them see what life looks like without you? Thank you for staying with me through this whole story. If any part of it hit close to home, if you've ever been the one holding everything together while being told you weren't enough, I read every single one, so you don't miss what's coming next. There's another story linked in the description about someone who was told they'd never make it on their own. They proved every single person wrong in the most satisfying way.